Larry Bell.
Sharon Suggs.
Evelyn Bell.
Joan Ray Bell.
Melissa Brown Reagan.
Alright. Imagine if you've been friends with someone for over 15 years and that person has become like a brother or sister to you. This person has mentored you in your chosen profession and is the reason why you've chosen certain pathways in your profession. Now imagine that you find that friend after they've committed suicide. I want to prove to each of you that firefighters are just as susceptible to mental illness as each of you are. I'll use information from Make the Connection, which is a website aimed at helping our military veterans dealing with signs and symptoms and stressors of items that lead to depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and even suicide. Depression is classified as a mood disorder according to the 5th edition of Discovering Psychology. Some different signs of depression include feeling sad or hopeless, losing interest in or not getting pleasure from things that gave you pleasure before, gaining or losing weight, broken sleep patterns, and feeling unworthy or guilty nearly every day. Drinking more alcohol or caffeine, and of course, abuse of other drugs. Some different stressors may include the death of a friend or family member, a traumatic event, retirement, relationship problems and or divorce, and even financial problems. As firefighters, we deal with death of family and friends just like each of you do. We're called to traumatic events every day, called during most people's worst time in their life, such as a family member dying, a child that's deathly sick, and even the traumatic accidents that we see on the roadways. When we retire, we leave a lifestyle and culture that we've been a part of for nearly 25 years. And that's if we haven't been injured or become sick due to our job. Divorce rates are very high in public safety, partially due to not talking and communicating with our loved ones. Let's face it, we all have financial problems from time to time. The documentary Burn opens with the line, I once heard a Detroit firefighter say, I wish my mind could forget what my eyes have seen. According to the 5th edition of Discovering Psychology, post-traumatic stress disorder is a long-lasting anxiety disorder. Some different signs include reoccurring memories or nightmares of the event, sleepless nights, loss of interest in things that you once had a big interest in, feeling numb, and even anger and irritability towards family and friends. Some different stressors that can cause post-traumatic stress disorder or severe trauma and life-threatening events, feeling an impending danger for you or others, witnessing people being injured or dying, and being physically harmed yourself. According to an article on brainphysics.com titled Most Firefighters Live with PTSD, a doctor in Israel found that 90% of their professional firefighters showed full or partial signs of PTSD. Another article titled PTSD on Firestrong.org found studies conducted show between 7 and 37% of firefighters meet the criteria for a current diagnosis of PTSD. Most of the time we run backhaul after backhaul and we don't have time to start the healing process. And even though we have some of the same symptoms as you, we're at a higher risk for this due to the nature of our job. But unfortunately, PTSD isn't as bad as it gets for us. This terrible disease and depression can lead to something that's much worse. According to the research paper titled Depression and Suicide, suicide is not a mental illness, it is an outcome. Some warning signs that preclude suicide are feeling helpless, like there's no way out. Trouble sleeping or eating that doesn't go away at all or get any better. A feeling like there's no reason to live. Withdrawing from family and friends. An increase in alcohol abuse and misuse of other drugs, to include prescription drugs. Some different stressors that lead people to suicide are stress, depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. People don't commit suicide because they want to die. but because they see it as the only way out. Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance is an organization that was founded by a captain named Jeff Dill. According to his website, the first known firefighter suicide occurred in 1880. The numbers for FBHA for the last 3 years with firefighter suicides are these. In 2012, there were 64 reported firefighter suicides. In 2013, there were 63. And so far, in 2014, there's been 60 reported firefighter suicides. Now, this website doesn't get any grant money or anything, and they rely strictly on people to give them that information. And once they have that information, they actually go through and verify that firefighter did, in fact, commit suicide. But due to traditions in the fire service, many of us don't seek help. We see ourselves as macho, brave. You know, we're here to help others. We don't worry about ourselves. People always ask firefighters, what's the worst call you've ever ran? Well, mine was referenced in the introduction. On January 20th, 2014, I ran the worst call of my career. We were towed to a pediatric cardiac arrest at an address that I recognized as a dear friend's house. His child turned out to be okay, but he never got to hear that news. Before we could tell him that his son was okay, he had taken his own life. When I found him, I realized that I had lost my friend, one of my mentors, and a person that I thought of like a brother. His actions were sudden that day, but he had been suffering and crying out for help for so long, and I was just too blind to see them. Until in the middle of 2013. I hope that this speech may open your eyes to the signs, so that if a loved one of yours is crying out for help, you'll recognize them.
James Suggs. Larry Bell.
Sharon Suggs.
Evelyn Bale.
Joan Bell.
Melissa Brown.